Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Based on the last video I uploaded about the drafting of this video, here is the stitching part of it. In this video, I'm going to be sharing with you guys how to stitch this dress properly. If this seems like what you're interested in, you might want to hit the subscribe button and also turn on your notification bell. Don't forget to hit the like button so YouTube will recommend this video. With that being said, let's just dive into the main video. So guys, as you can see on my work table, I've already gone ahead to cut out my pieces for my pattern, and I also cut out the lining piece exact same way I cut out the main fabric. So I cut out the back piece, the front, and then the cup itself, which is the slash and spread pattern. So the next thing I'm going to do right now is to take away my patterns. As you can see, I added 0.5 inches all the way around the cup, and also heading to the back piece, I added 0.5 inches at the top and then at the bottom of the pattern just to join my fabrics together. And then for the front, I also added the 0.5 inches around this part and then underneath it. So after this, the next thing I will do is just to take away my patterns and begin the joining. The first thing I'm going to do is just to go ahead and take away the back piece and set it aside, followed by the front piece, and then I'll be working on the cup for now. So the first thing I'm going to do right now is just to pair each one with its lining piece. So I'm just going to open up this part to the right side. Then I'm just going to demonstrate how it's going to look like after I am done working with it. It's going to be gathered this way. The next target is the front piece. I'm just going to open it up this way. Then this is how it's going to look like after you're done compressing this pattern, the slash and spread pattern, into one part of the cup, just like you see me illustrating. So I'll be bringing out the lining for each pattern to arrange it the way I want it to look like. For me to do that properly, I'm going to be placing the pattern for the lining piece on top of the main fabric with the right sides facing each other, and then I'm also going to repeat the same thing for the second cup. So the next thing I'll be doing right now after arranging it into place is just to go ahead and stitch it at the center in the middle like this. Then this is how it looks like after I was done. I also went ahead to close the darts for the front piece of the main fabric and then that of its lining counterpart. So after this, the next thing I'll be doing right now is to go ahead and turn this part of the cup onto the right side. As you can see, I've already gone ahead to stitch it just in the middle part, just like this. Next, I went ahead to run a basting stitch of about 0.5 inches at the top and then at the lower part, just like you see me pointing, and I also went ahead to do the same thing for the cup. This is how it looks like after I was done running my basting stitch. As you can see, I used a white thread so that you guys see what I'm doing properly. For you to run a basting stitch, you need to just go ahead and set your machine to the longest stride before running your stitches, and make sure you don't backstitch when you are running the stitch. You need to leave extra threads to enable you to make gathers from that basting stitch, okay? Just pull it out gently and ignore the speed at which I set the editing here. After you're done gathering it at the top, go ahead and repeat the same thing at the lower part so that it looks just the same with the upper parts. So guys, you might want to take it easy and be gentle with the gathering process so that your thread wouldn't break off. This is how it looks like after I was done. I'm going to be repeating the same thing for the second cup off camera, and then I'll get back to you. So guys, after I was done with the gathers, I went ahead to cross-check the length of each gathers, that's the width of the pattern. So this is the center part. I'm just going to place my tape rule from one end, from the middle like this, to the other end of the side. Okay, so I'll be determining the wideness according to the cup which I used to measure it. So using the cup, I placed it on top of the pattern this way, and then I'm just going to retake my measurement and see what I have. I have about 8.5 for this part, so I'll just check if it's up to 8.5 or more, or even less, and then I'll shift it accordingly. So after I was done with the adjustment, I went ahead to bring the front of the lower part because I'll be stitching it around the curve. I'm just basically arranging it the way I want it to look like to see how it goes, and I'll be doing that off the camera. But in the meantime, I went ahead to cut out 2 tiny long pieces of straps that measured 18 inches length and then 1.5 inches in width. You can make it as long as you want, so just go ahead and pipe it at the top of the cup, okay? Just place it at this way and then it's going to fold like this as the little tie. So for you to pipe it up, you're going to be placing the right side of the strap on the wrong side of your pattern of the cup like this. Then just basically stitch it along the line by 0.5 inches, covering the first basting stitch you did. So for you to cover it up properly, you need to fold it backwards like this, just the way you attach your bias on your fabric. So after I'm done with that, the next thing I'm going to do is just to attach the cups to the body part and then get back to you. This is how it looks like after I was done piping the top of the cup, and then after I was done attaching the cups to the front piece. So the next thing I'm going to do right now is to attach the lining piece, just like I attached the main fabric for the front piece. So for you to attach the lining piece, just go ahead and place them this way, open up the cups this way, just make sure it's facing the wrong side upwards, and then you're going to be placing the lining piece just like you see me doing, pinning it up in the middle just like this. So I decided to pin one part of the cup all through before pinning down the other side. So guys, this is how it looks like after I was done pinning the lining piece all the way around. And as you can see, I gently went ahead to use my pins carefully before stitching it. After I was done stitching it, this is how beautiful it came out looking like. I also did a little bit of crisscross in the middle part, just like you see me pointing. And then the next thing I'll be doing is to open it right back and stitch it at the sides. This is how it looks like after I was done stitching up the sides. I also went ahead to give it a very good press just to keep it flat. After I was done with it, the next thing I did was to fix the back piece. And with that being said, I'll be setting the front piece aside. So for me to work on the back piece, I'll go ahead and open up the back pattern and then pair it up with each of the lining counterparts. After I was on pairing the lining piece and the pattern up, I went ahead to stitch the darts. I was supposed to stitch it together, but I ended up stitching it individually, which is still okay. So using the notch point at which I gave, I'll be folding it up this way into half, and then I'll just go ahead and stitch it at 0.5 inches upwards to the top, and also I repeated the same thing for the lining piece. So guys, this is the back piece. After I was done, I went ahead to stitch and top stitch it at the upper part and then closed the sides after I was done with the darts. The next thing I did was to turn it inside out with the right side facing up. I also did the same thing for the other part as well. So guys, after I was done pressing it, the next thing I did was to trim the lower part to look even. So I just went ahead to trim out about 0.5 inches away from the lower part, and then the next thing I did was to go ahead and match it up with the front piece. This is what I'm going to be working with much later on. The next thing is just to go ahead and cut out the sleeves. So I cut out a long piece of fabric of about 36 inches long and then 10 inches wide. This is because I'm going to be folding in 1 inch on both ends to make up for the bands. So what I have left is 8 inches. Next thing I did was to go ahead and match it up with each other, fold it into 2 equal halves because I want to cut out the side for the off shoulder for the sleeves. So I just placed my front piece on top of it just like you see me doing, and then I went ahead to trim out this part of the sleeve at the top to make up for the armhole. And then the next thing I did right now is just to go ahead and cut out elastic bands for both sides of the sleeve. The first one I measured is 9 inches, which is going to be just enough for my bicep, and then I cut out 2 pieces for each one, followed by the elastic for the upper part. So I measured half of my shoulder measurement, which is 8 inches for this part, and I'm also cutting out 2 pieces. So I'm just going to go ahead and insert my elastic into each elastic casing I made. This is how it looks like after I was done with it. The next thing I'm going to be doing right now is to attach it to the upper part, which I have joined together by the side. Bringing out my front piece, I quickly adjusted it to the side because I'm going to be working with this part of the armhole. So for me to fix my sleeve, I'll go ahead and measure what I have here and then just gently attach my sleeves. In order to attach the sleeves, the first thing you need to do is to go ahead and stitch it downwards by 1 inch. So just go ahead and measure this part of the armhole and just check what you have there. Then you need to distribute it to the sleeve as well. So if you want to stitch the sleeves, go ahead and measure what you have on the armhole, and then that will determine what you need to stitch. For me, I'll be stitching down 0.75 inches. So I'll do the same thing for the other part, and then this is how it looks like after I was done stitching. As you can see, our dress is coming together really nicely. Next thing I'm going to be doing right now is just to go ahead and work on the lower part. First of all, I'll be taking the entire measurement of the circumference of this waistline here by placing my tape rule starting from the zipper allowance all the way to the other end of the zipper allowance. So what I have is 33.5 inches, and that is what I'll be working with. So guys, I folded another piece of fabric in a slanted manner to get an asymmetric angle so that I will be able to cut out a semicircle flare. So just go ahead and mark a line this way, just like I did. The line is going to be determined by the quarter of your waistline circumference plus 2 inches. After that, the next thing you're going to be doing is to place your tape rule on that line, removing your half length, and then what you have left is going to make up for your dress length. Since this dress has just one joining at the waist, it means that the both sides, which is the upper part and the skirt pattern, will make up for the whole length of the dress. The next thing you need to do is to place your tape rule on that line, then mark the quarter of your waistline circumference plus extra 2 inches, which is for the stitching allowance. It's not necessarily going to be up to 2 inches. You can still make it 1.5 if it's too much for you. The next thing I'm going to be doing right now is to mark the hip line, which is 8 inches. And from there, I'm going to be inserting quarter of my hip line circumference. Then I'll add extra 2 inches for the allowance. The next thing I'll be doing is to connect the lines using my curved ruler to give it a shape around the hip line. After which I'll be cutting it out with a scissors. So I folded another piece of fabric in the same shape with the first pattern I cut out. Next thing I'm going to do right now is just to go ahead and place my tape rule around this edge like this, because I gave a little bit of an allowance for the zipper. So I'll just check what I have here, and then the next thing I'll do is to cut it out. So guys, the next thing I did after cutting it out was to split the back piece into two at the middle here. So just go ahead and arrange it, and then place your scissors and split it into 2 equal halves. After which you need to give it a notch at the middle and at the zipper area. So this is how it looks when I open up the front piece. It's already looking like an A-shaped skirt. Okay, so the next I'll go ahead and do right now is to arrange it and then place the two back piece right above it, right side to right side, facing each other, so that I can be able to join the sides together. I'll also be stitching it by 2 inches I gave for the sewing allowance. So this is how it looks like after I was done stitching. The next thing I'll go ahead and do right now is to fold it over like this, so that I can be able to stitch the lower part and then also attach the zipper. But before doing that, I'll go ahead and open it up right back in order to create the slit which you see in the picture. So I'll just go ahead and take my measurement on the waistline just like this. I'll be using the nipple to nipple measurement to derive the measurement for the dart. Let's just assume that there is a dart here. So I'll just go ahead and mark a chalk line there. Then I'll extend it with my ruler all the way down to the lower part. That is going to serve as a guide for me to create my slit. Okay, so just go ahead and measure the length of where you want your slit to start from. For my own case, I started from my waistline, excluding my 17 inches for my half length, and then I got 36 inches. So you can go ahead and measure lesser or higher than this, depending on the amount of skein you want to expose. Okay, so just go ahead and use a straight ruler to connect the line all the way down to the hem of the dress. The reason why you need to roll a straight line is because you want to have that straight slit after you're done stitching or working on your slit. Okay, after you're done with the line, you just go ahead and cut out a long strip of fabric that is 3 inches wide and long enough to cover from this part to the hem of the dress. So after you're done with that, just go ahead and pin it down in the middle. Make sure that the line is in between this piece of fabric. Pin it all through. Then you need to retrace another straight line on top of this little piece of fabric you just pinned. So just go ahead and mark half of an inch away from both sides of the line. That's where I'm going to be stitching. Next, I'm going to be making a bent curve like this so that I can be able to stitch from one end of the line to the other end This is how it looks like after I was done stitching on the lines. As you can see, this side is closed and the other side is also closed. The next thing I'm going to do right now is just to go ahead and slit it in the middle on the initial line I drew. Getting to this point of the line, I went ahead to make a V-shaped notch here on both sides of the line. As you can see, I'm giving it a little notch on both sides to enable me to fold it inwards so that I can achieve a neat finishing. So I'll just go ahead and just run a stitch from this part all the way around, and then this is what I have after I was done. I went ahead to press it, and also I attached my hemming gum just to keep it sealed in, and then I gave it a really nice press. So guys, this is how it looks like after I was done, and then the next thing I'm going to do is to close it up at the back, double fold and stitch the hemline, and also attach my zipper. This is the end result. This is how beautiful the dress came out looking like. If you like this video, kindly hit the subscription button, turn on your notification bell, like and comment your thoughts in the comment section. With that being said, I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye for now.